Hi, everyone. This is Tamara Childs with Ruth McCants for your weekly energy update. Hey, Ruth.
Hey,
you know, um, it seems like a week has been a really long time.
uh, some days are longer than others, and
Yes.
then multiply that in terms of the week.
And hello to all of our friends out there in YouTube land who may be watching this either at the, close to the time that we record or a little bit later. Today is September the 7th, 2017. Here we are in September. And wow, it's been quite a week. We just want to send a prayer out to some of the rumblings and the natural disaster things that have been happening, all the flooding all around the world and locally in the States, and also the fires in the West. I can't wait to show you my cards this week, Ruth, because
Okay.
I haven't told you what they are yet, but I was thinking about the fires and about the water. So we'll talk about that. But do you want to start with just saying a couple things about the astrology this week?
Well, yes, you and I were talking, and one of the things that I personally find, and this is a little bit humorous, usually maybe a couple of days before the full moon is when I'm very restless, and I have a little bit difficulty sleeping sometimes.
Mm.
But it's interesting, and I really observed this over maybe the whole year of looking at when moon goes into Pisces, I actually become so sleepy. And I find if I let myself really rest, it's one of the most restful times. And so I'm thinking that other people, if they observe, they might find it might not be Pisces, but it could be another moon sign
Mhm.
where if you let your body really, in your mind, really get into that restfulness, it is a very healing and health giving opportunity.
Well, and I think the full moon is a time that some people have trouble sleeping as well. And there's sort of the thing that I want to mention is all the stress that people may be feeling, and some of it is their stress, some of it is associative stress from watching the news or watching,
Right.
you know,
Absolutely.
just the things that are in the collective always affect us, and I think it's important to name
Hmm.
that. And one of the things we were discussing before pushing record is that it's very important when people are sensitive and empathic and they're picking up stuff and they're starting to feel kind of strung out and overextended and exhausted, and they're not quite sure why.
Right.
Often in this culture, we've been taught to not to suppress that awareness that we are in that state, that our nerves are getting really jangled and we're starting to feel like we don't have enough energy for things,
Hmm.
and we're not managing our own energy levels. And I think it's so important right now. You were mentioning the Virgo time, that we
Yes.
implement self-care. So, hopefully that we'll talk about that a little bit with our card draws today to help people for this week.
Well, as you were just saying, like I said, I was mentioning the moon in Pisces and using that as a restful time. But
Hmm.
two things. It just occurred to me that we have to selectively make decisions. For instance, it becomes very critical right now. Sometimes you have to turn the TV off or you have to turn the computer off. And
Hmm.
you have to do that very volitionally and consciously
Hmm.
because we may walk away from it, but it's in the background.
Yeah.
And whatever is going on, it goes into our subconscious
Hmm.
and then it affects us in our bodies. And so Virgo is the sign that says it's time to review and change your routine, particularly because you will get the symptoms, but it's a whole body, mind, spirit complex that's being affected. So,
Yeah, and especially with the full moon, I mean, that's a real letting go and processing time
Mm-hmm.
for people. And so if we're not giving ourselves the time and space, especially a Pisces moon wants, it's
That's
very
right.
emotional.
Absolutely.
You know, if you don't create the container or the space or the amount of time that you need to have whatever it is you're releasing, um, you know, sometimes at a full moon, I've noticed that fears will come up from just ordinary situations that, you know, day-to-day situations. And suddenly I'll feel like a little paranoia around some situation or something that's coming up in my life. And often that's just a release thing that the moon
Yes,
is helping me do, is
that's
saying,
right.
you know, we're triggering this and it's coming out. And you need to create the space for that to leave.
And in fact, with the moons in general, it is about those hidden kinds of things, specifically with the Pisces, things, unmanageable emotional energies that haven't been processed. I call that raw material that went
Yeah.
in. And if that's not processed, it actually can contaminate your whole month
Mhm.
or your whole year, because you're leaching that unprocessed emotional material that is in your psyche.
Yeah.
And that's what I think to some extent, that's what we're witnessing all around us with all of the catastrophic, both in nature and
Yeah.
within ourselves, stuff
Yeah.
that never was processed.
Well, and think about the lifestyle that we lead, the way that we do life. Some of us go 9 to 5 to our jobs, other people are self employed, but there's a lot of pressure. And we're taught when we're very young that if you have a feeling when something comes up, and say you get upset during the day, that you're supposed to, I don't know about you, but I got the get the stiff upper lip going. And you know, when it gets tough, the tough get going. That was the message I received in my family. So we learn to suppress our emotions, where we learn
Yes.
to not, we're not always allowed to laugh when we feel like laughing, or cry when we feel like crying, or get angry when we feel like getting angry. So there is suppressed emotion. And that, the reason I said that is, um, I think there's more suppressed emotion than we generally realize. But it takes people by surprise. I know when I'm working with people, they'll say, I thought I worked on that. I worked on that 15 years ago. Why am I having
Mm-hmm.
feelings about it?
Mm-hmm.
And it just has to do with the fact that we are emotional beings living in a suppressive culture that doesn't really want us to, well, actually it just isn't, it's not set up for us to feel our emotions and express them naturally.
But I, at the same time, I think life as we are living it at this particular time, whether we set it up that way or not, it is moving. We are evolving, kicking and screaming, because what really runs the world? It's not our intellect; it's our emotional self.
It is.
Whether yes, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, that part of ourselves will come forth. So
Well,
we
and that emotional, the stuff that we don't own, I believe that creates sort of an off-gassing into the atmosphere.
yes, I like that word. You
Yeah,
say psychic smog, as
yeah,
you
I
put
call
it.
it
Yeah.
psychic smog.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit on the radio show again tomorrow, but just because I feel it's so important. And, you know, I'm living in an area where there's a lot of smoke in the air. There's smog. And then, you know, if we look at the cleanup around Hurricane Harvey, and other impending stuff, Irma coming and all of that, but the cleanup in particular, you know, the chemicals in the water, once something gets spilled into something like water, it's very difficult to filter. And then you have a filtering, the need to filter. And it's funny because I feel like that's Virgo. Virgo is about filtering the poisons out.
Well, I want to add to that, and I'm glad you said the filtering the poisons, but let's go back for a moment, because we need to look at the pervasiveness of Neptune in Pisces at this
Ah,
particular time.
oh yeah.
And something, as I mentioned, the there is a paradigm shift, whether we want to acknowledge it. There is a shift in how we're being asked to look at things. Neptune takes a look at the illusions, and many of the quote unquote disasters that are going on have, and we were talking earlier, have been caused by the illusion. For example, you can't live on a floodplain. When you engineer, those are artificially produced kinds of things. You can't live on a floodplain and expect when nature does do whatever nature does, that it's going to be okay. Because what happens in this case, water has to go someplace. And that's just one example where things have been, as the human being said, oh, I'll take care of it, I'll re-engineer it, I'll make it the way I want to, but not following the contours of what nature has set out. So Neptune gives us these clues that says, you can't live by illusion. And then you come in with Virgo and it says, all right, you've got to reorient and make a new routine here. So we've got and then we have Saturn sitting in late Sagittarius that says, you've got to set a new goal where everybody gets a part of the winnings. Well, so we got all of these clues.
Wow. I'm also thinking about Chiron still in Pisces.
Yes.
And as you were talking, I was just asking, what is the significance of that to some degree collectively? What I pick up on and what I find I'm working on so much with the people who I work with is releasing the sense of victimization that we receive as a collective. Like
we're talking collective for all of this, really, because these are generational, particularly with Neptune, and to some extent Saturn. Chiron is in the middle there.
Yeah, and it's, Chiron is considered the wound that never heals. It's part of that mythology. And so, if we're talking about Pisces and the collective unconscious, like how can we heal everyone's unowned stuff? And also that idea that we are victims of the collective, because I feel that is a thought form that's really out there right now. We are each individually living our lives to the best of our ability to stay clean and, do what we can do in the Virgo, keep things organized. And yet there's still poison in the atmosphere, and we're wondering who it belongs to.
Well, that's part of the illusion that we can read. For example, when you use the earth, yes, I don't say that we shouldn't get oil, that because the minerals and our natural resources are there for us to use. But when it's done for the sake of, it's very avaricious. When you do it, I will get mine, but I don't care about you. That's the illusion that everybody can have some part of living well. And so Neptune is about dissolving things that are illusionary.
Yes. And if we look at mining, there's just so many environmental issues that we have right now that have to do with improper use of the environment, as you just said. So, and we are collectively experiencing the poisoning that comes from that on so many different levels.
Right, absolutely.
When you have HARP and, you're shooting things up to I forget what it's called, the ionosphere. I forget what it's called. It does affect everything, the currents, the wind currents, everything. And I just think that we are definitely having that moment where the question is, how do we live our lives responsibly within our own energy field, not feeling victimized by what we can't clean up from other people, but also taking responsibility for everything in a way.
Well,
So,
I wanna bring forth my card that I
yeah,
received,
yes.
and I think uh, part of the answer is, this is from Sonia Choquette,
Oh,
and it says, "What do you love?
yeah.
What do
Oh,
you
that is the
love?" You
question.
see, that's right.
Hmm.
That, because we always say, "I love this" or "I love that," and if and we know that love, if we're looking at it in the great sense,
Hmm.
doesn't seek to destroy. Love does not destroy. All of these other things destroy. And then the illusions, we call lots of things love, but it's not really love at all.
Well, it's interesting because I like to watch popular culture and see what's on TV and all of that. And there's a show that's sort of about supernatural creatures and vampires and things. And they're constantly, like, the theme of that show is similar to the themes that we work on in our lives. It's about the darkness inside the self, what happens when we become our monstrous selves. And it's about these people who are not really people anymore because they're creatures, but they are from a family where they feel of the only thing that keeps them from being complete monsters is the love they have for, and the fierceness of wanting to protect this family that is not really taking care of the world around them. They're very vicious, but the redemption, the thread of redemption always is love in that storyline, in every storyline.
Yes, it is. And it's the
Yes.
center of what you really feel in your heart. Because to love, you can't think love.
Mm-hmm.
We have to. Um, Now, this is an interesting. I saw a story about, and it comes out in a very. It's not. It's a negative scenario, but I saw this little clip about a man in another country.
Mm-hmm.
He was Muslim, but
Mm-hmm.
these other people were Christians, and he took care of these people because their whole way of life in their home was threatened.
Mm-hmm.
And then the stories about him taking care, because we know right now there's all this conflict about that group against this group,
Mm-hmm.
but to have him take these people into his home and to protect them and to take care of them, even though they were of the other group, they're the us and them,
Mm-hmm.
and but they all became one at that point, humans.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, is an act of, that's what love is right there. It's not the romantic kind of thing that we see on TV sometimes, girl meets boy, but the very active connection of human to human. And that, to me, is what love means.
Well, and love is like you said, it's not in your head, and it's the one place that is still sacred, and it's the one place that when you're watching the news or distressed about things that are going on in the world, if you turn to love the person you love, or the animals that you love, or the things you love, or whatever in your life that you love,
Yes,
it in that moment, it's very timeless and nothing is poison.
that's where I love that. It's very timeless. Absolutely. It has no ceiling above, and it
No,
has no, it just is.
but it is a space. And I
Hmm.
think some of what I feel for people right now is to create a protective space for their lives, and to decide what comes in and what goes out. I mean,
Right,
that's
right.
it's always something that I'm interested in. But one of the cards that I got, and again, we never know what we're going to draw. We draw them right
Yes,
before we do it.
that's right. We don't
But
know. I just,
I got a fire card, and it's the Prince of Wands.
oh,
Um,
that's pretty. Hmm.
yeah, it is. It's not very fiery. Um, but what this signals to me is that this week we're going to see something around leadership, either through ourselves, or there's going to be an important person in our lives who can light the torch and kind of send the way for us. and that it's really important to look at where we are leading and where we are being led.
Can we hold both of those cards up, because these both are heart. These both cards come out of the heart.
Yeah.
These are heart cards.
Yeah. Boy,
Yes.
look at that.
Uh-huh.
Nice. Do you want to tell me about the next card? You want me to go?
Yes. I want, because I think along with what we just had, seek solitude. That's a very difficult one oftentimes, because
because we often want to be comforted through other people. We want to know,
right.
Let me cling to you. Can you comfort me? But this is about, oh, you're not going to believe what I drew. I drew the high priestess.
Oh my goodness, yes. And the high priestess would definitely say, go and seek solitude.
So
yes, that would be the message. Mm-hmm.
And just know that there's wisdom within for any situation in your life this week that you're struggling with. The answer is not in talking and thinking so much as it is in intuition and anything you can do to create that cathedral within.
Right. That's beautiful.
Now, the third card I got, Ruth, is the Hierophant.
Here we go again.
What did you get?
Mentors and role models. The Hierophant is exactly that.
Wow. I'm using a traditional tarot deck. You're using Sonia Shokin.
The Oracle. The Oracle deck.
Connect. This always happens no matter what. Mm-hmm. This is very much about seeking higher principles and living them out, and also selecting from your environment this week a teacher or mentor who you feel brings you onto the right path for you. And this is very
centers in your heart. Mm-hmm. Someone who really resonates with your question, what do you love?
So reach out to that person this week, a mentor for you. And then I drew, just for fun, one of Cheryl Richardson's self-care cards, because I'm going to be talking a little bit more about self-care on the radio show. And it's courage.
Absolutely. The courage to, I would say the courage to take on what you love.
Yeah.
Don't let other people talk you out of it. What you love.
Yeah. The words are, take the leap. Your courage will see you through.
Oh, yes.
So for those of you watching who've been contemplating something small or large that is a leap of courage, that's a signal to, and actually I'll even say, to activate the warrior spirit within you, because we have lots of different archetypes within us. And so just access the part of you that is that warrior, and, give her a name and a look, and give her an outfit. Give her an outfit.
And she's there with you all the time.
She is. She is. Well, this has been really wonderful. It's great to see you, by the way.
It's wonderful seeing you too. After, I just spent a week down in Florida at St. George Island in Florida, just in the nick of time, but the Gulf was beautiful.
Oh, I'm so glad you made it back. There was one thing we forgot to touch on that we were going to before, when we were chatting before the show. And it's just about the physical body, because we are in the Virgo time. There was something you had said, well, basically about when symptoms come up in your body, it's, you don't want that to, that's your.
Yes, that's a cue. That's a cue that mind, body, spirit we need to attend to whatever is going on, because the symptoms, they don't create themselves. They come from our mind, our body, our wholeness. So yes, and Virgo, we have about 2.5 more weeks of Virgo. So Virgo is an excellent time, and Mercury's still roaming around in Virgo too.
So, one of the things you're just saying as a piece of advice that I want to reiterate for people is, in the next couple of weeks and during this week for sure, if there are physical symptoms that you've been dealing with for a while that you're kind of just trying to get rid of and taking medicine for, and it's not going away, this is a time when the physical body can be your cathedral, your temple, your place of getting information. So just really, really let your body speak to you and listen.
Yes, I'm glad you said, let your body talk to you, because that's called somatic language. It means that the body has that language through symptoms.
That's right.
And they have a real message.
Mm-hmm.
They're the messenger.
Yeah, so that's part of the wisdom that we're all seeking, rather than necessarily reaching out toward another person. Sometimes the answer is just in your body. It's just right in your gut for you. So let's invite people to what we're doing for the week. Ruth, what do you have going on that's special? I believe you're starting. You're going to be teaching in a
yes. I'm going to be teaching in a course hosted by Kyla Givehand called Pull, Pen, and Paint. And I'll be doing a segment this coming Thursday on archetypes in astrology and tarot.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to my website and get the link. In fact, we'll put the link in.
Yeah, I always put the link to your website.
Right.
So people, please go to her website, because she's just a wonderful teacher, and this is a great event if you want some support that's also creative. So
and then I want to tell everybody to go over to my Instagram and watch a little video I put on there on world music and frame drumming, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's at my Soul Sound Insights Instagram.
Okay, Soul Sound Insights at Instagram. Okay, wonderful. I'm going to buzz over there too and look at that. And I'd love to invite people to my radio show, Elements of Wisdom, on Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, over at 12radio.com. The link is below. And tomorrow we're talking, well, the theme is consciousness for September. And we are talking more about recognizing artificial emotional states, or
oh my goodness, that's going to be exciting,
or triggers. They're called distractor implants, but that'll be really fun. So how to get rid of those things and recognize them when they're cropping up for you and take better care of you. So
look forward to it.
That's it for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please share this video. Please like the video and comment below. We would love to start conversations with you. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
See you all next week.